Hi, I'm Aubrie.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. We're two friends having a good time.
I happen to be a Christian, and that's okay.
And I happen to be an atheist, and that's okay.
Welcome to the Christian and the Atheist podcast.
Let's dive in.
Hey guys, have you left a review for our podcast yet? Head over to wherever you listen to your podcast and do that right now.
And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Christian and the Atheist, and TikTok at Christian and Atheist.
Did you know that the Christian and the Atheist podcast is on Patreon?
When you join our Patreon community, you can get ad-free episodes and access to video chat with us once a month for 10 minutes to talk about episode topics and more.
Head on over to patreon.com/Christian and Atheist to sign up now. Coming up on the Christian and the Atheist podcast.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're searching for something, you're searching for hope, you're searching for truth, you're searching for answers, walk through the doors of Life.Church.
Yeah,
and just see what God might do. The fact that you guys are having this conversation, I think, is incredible, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Right now, we're at a point in the history of the world where people need to be able to have civil conversations and dialogue, and honestly, just to be open.
Right. Yes.
And I thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this.
So I leaned over to Aubrie to say, this is a big Mormonism scripture. She goes, I wasn't listening. There was a guy driving a shuttle in the parking lot. What? No offense to anybody running Life.Church. I think they're doing a great job. I think it's run lovely.
What do you have to say? What did you not enjoy?
Hi.
Welcome back to our show. Guess what we're doing? Well, guess what Kathleen is going to do.
For the first time in a long time. I'm going to church.
Woohoo, I did it. I got her to church, you guys. We're going to do this.
We'll see if I burst into flame.
She might catch fire. She might.
Lightning may strike the building.
Sweat blood.
Ooh, that's a gross one. Ooh, I've never heard that. That's gross.
I just made it up. I heard Jesus did it once.
I'm going to ruin my clothes. Come on.
No, you'll be fine. But we had the idea to go ahead and just have Kathleen come to church because, one, why not? Two, I want her to see my, what I talk about when I talk about church, and go from there. So, are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you like, don't do this to me? What are your feelings?
I feel like I kind of have an idea of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Knowing that I've been to similar setup churches before. I've never been to Life.Church itself, but I've been to like similar non-denominational churches that have similar ideology and similar like light shows and bands and people
loud
are
music.
Yeah, people are
actual instruments.
Yeah,
with electricity.
That kind of thing. It sounds crazy. And I know from my past experiences that it was such a culture shock from so wildly out of place that the few times that I've been to churches like this before, I hated it because I was like, what is going on? But to be fair, that was also like 5 years ago. So
yeah, you could be a whole new woman. I'm a whole new woman from the woman I was 5 years ago.
Yeah, probably am.
I'm just kidding.
But right. I'm not expecting anything life-changing. I'm not expecting to be touched by
an angel.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that
Yes,
show?
I watched that show. Are you kidding?
Oh my God, you did.
I loved that show.
When you walk
my God.
down the road.
No. Oh my God, I remember the song.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was right. I don't know the rest.
Sure, sounds right. I don't know. I can see it in my brain. The flashlight glowing behind
and I will
that lady's
walk
head.
With you.
Oh my God.
Say the background. Walk with you.
Yes. Yeah, no, we totally watched Touched by an Angel. That show was legit. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, you're welcome for that. Okay, so let's go to church. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So when you hear back from us, you guys get to hear from my pastor, the campus pastor of Owasso Life.Church, Richie Leber. So, woo-woo. And then get even more excited, Kathleen's experience at church.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Are you ready? Are you hot yet? Are you burning?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Are your feet burning?
Not yet.
Are you going to run out of the building?
screaming. No!
I cannot do this. I love you, but I can't.
Oh, jeez.
All right, let's go. Hey, everybody. We are sitting in Life.Church Owasso with Pastor Richie Leber, who is the campus pastor at my church. And welcome, Richie, to our show.
Thank you, Aubrie. What a pleasure it is to be on your show.
We're very thankful that you agreed to sit down with us. We know this is kind of probably out of left field a little bit. Maybe not something you always do as a Life Church pastor. This maybe isn't the regular day for you.
As a matter of fact, this is the first podcast I have ever been a part of. So
you're welcome.
It is awesome. No, I'm really excited to be a part of your podcast. I love what you guys are doing. I love
thank you.
This is a conversation. I think one of the greatest unfortunate things right now in our culture is the fact that there's a thought out there that you can't love somebody and at the same time disagree with them.
Right.
Yes.
And so the fact that you guys are having this conversation, I think, is incredible, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and just dive in.
Yeah.
So what is Church's main mission?
Our main mission is to lead people to become fully devoted followers of Christ. And it's something that we're really passionate about, that anybody from any walk of life, from any faith journey, honestly, can walk into our church and can explore what God has for their life.
Right.
I'm a case study of our church. In that 10 years ago, I walked into a Life Church location in Wellington, Florida, South Florida, and I would say at the time I was definitely a Christian. I was a follower of Jesus, but I was pretty much one of those lukewarm, kind of check the box. This is kind of just what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I started to see something and feel something that allowed me to hit a different level in my relationship with God. And so that's really our mission, that anybody from any walk of life, from any faith background, from any socioeconomic status can walk in and feel like this is a place that they can belong and they can grow in their relationship with God.
Right.
Awesome.
Wow. So 10 years ago, congratulations.
10 years. Crazy.
That's exciting.
I love it.
So I visited your church this last Sunday, and it's obviously a very different setup than I'm used to as growing up Mormon. And so there was a lot. Aubrie kind of explained them, but I would love to hear just a brief overview of the different pastors, the different leaders, and their roles within the church, because it's very different than what I'm used to.
Yes, it is very different. And I grew up in a more traditional mainline church too. So when I first came to Life Church, I was like, what is going on here?
I don't understand.
I have no idea. So I'm the campus pastor.
Okay.
My role here is to provide, to cast vision for our church as a whole.
Okay.
But also to lead my team. So we've got a team with 5 different team leads. And so I've got a worship pastor. I've got an operations pastor who really does a lot behind the scenes to make things happen in our church. I've got a life groups and life missions pastor who's really, their job is to connect people in small groups and to help people find a way to serve in our community.
Okay.
We believe that the church isn't the building, the church is the people. And so we get to go out into the community and find people who are people of need and make an impact in our community. So we have a life groups, life missions pastor. We have a switch pastor, which is AKA a youth pastor, 6th through 12th grade, every single Wednesday night. It's a party up in here with our switch. Aubrie knows what that's like.
Yep.
Do I ever?
We have a life kids pastor. So this yellow hallway down here, we have a ton of families that attend our church, and our life kids pastor is helping those families connect with God on a deeper level, not just the kids, but the parents as well. And then we have our host team pastor, which really is over, you probably saw like a million different red shirts and blue shirts and yellow shirts. Our host team creates that environment for people to walk in and feel comfortable. And so those are the different roles that we have here at the church.
Okay.
It's a lot of people. So there's
is.
also associates under them most of the time.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so
do you want to talk about the
currently we
associates?
have a team of 10.
Okay.
So we have an associate is somebody who's usually newer to staff.
Right.
That is really being grown under that lead pastor. So that when we launch a new location, we can send them out and they can be a team leader somewhere.
Okay. So basically, they're training.
Yes, correct. Growing in their
Awesome.
leadership and training and being ready to get sent out.
Cool.
So if someone was coming to Life Church for the first time, can you explain what they will experience from the moment they walk into the door?
Absolutely. So I talked a little bit about our host team and that group of people. Here's what we don't call our people volunteers because we believe they're leaders. We believe they're part of this mission.
I kind of love it.
Yes. Everybody is a part of it. And I remember the church that I grew up in. I didn't see that growing up. I felt like the leaders of the church were the people that were wearing the robes or they were up front. And what I love about this church is that everybody is leading towards that mission that I talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
But this weekend I had a cool conversation with a family from North Dakota.
Oh, cool.
And I could tell they were new because they walked in the door and they kind of like looked around, big eyes. And so I got to meet them before the service, and they said, yeah, we drove all the way from North Dakota. They had 3 daughters. They said they come into town for a concert this weekend at the BOK.
Okay. Cool.
So they came in town for a concert. They stayed at a hotel in Owasso, and then they Googled Life.Church because they'd heard of it before.
Oh my, how fun.
And so they ended
this.
up coming into our church, and I talked to them a little bit beforehand, showed them kind of around. They went into the service, and then they came out after, and that's the conversation I love to have.
Yeah,
And
after.
so I just asked them, I said, hey, what was it like?
Yeah.
And they said, man, it's crazy. We drove all this way, and we have a church back in North Dakota. We've never
Right.
been to a Life Church before.
Yeah.
But the experience that we got to have was, man, we felt so welcome.
Oh.
We felt that even though we're almost 1,000 miles away from where we're from, like we felt at home.
Yeah.
And your people welcomed us, and we got to be a part of an amazing worship experience. And the message that we heard, even our girls, which were, I think, all the way down to 5 or 6 years old, could take something from that.
Right.
And so they were kind of like ready to get back on the road and just talk about what happened at church. So that's the hope, is that everybody that walks in, no matter what their background is, no matter what season of life they're in,
Right.
they will walk in and they will feel a sense of belonging. And so that everything in our service is geared towards that feeling.
Yeah.
From the beginning song, which is, usually a secular song that's a lot of fun and different, and some, Christians don't understand. They're like, why are we doing this
Why not?
song? And I'm like, because we like to have fun.
Yeah.
And so
Who
everything's
doesn't want to hear Cranberry Zombie being sung by their pastor?
amazing. Let me tell
And
you.
she killed it.
Amazing. That was a really good one.
I was like, it's one of my favorite songs.
That's a great
That's a
I
great
was
song.
like,
Oh, yeah. The
Jordan,
Cranberries.
you
Wow.
win. Whatever you're supposed to win, you win it.
Gold star for you.
So, anyways.
So about on average, how many people do you have here every Sunday at Life Church?
That's a great question. It really depends on the location. So right now, currently, we're in 38 different locations in 12 different states.
Wow.
And by the time this airs, it'll be 39.
Yeah.
And so every location
awesome.
varies. Typically here in the Tulsa area, we have 7 locations, and we're a couple thousand every weekend, give or take a few hundred. So we have also a lot of different service times.
Kathleen's having a moment.
That's so many people.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
It's crazy that you say that because it can feel like that.
Yeah.
The service that you attended is the highest attended service we have on the weekend. Obviously, 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect time to go to church, and that's why I
Yeah.
encourage people not to go to 10 a.m. because usually
Yeah.
new people, when they come to church, we want to have a great seat for them. And if
Right.
it's crowded, it's hard to do that. And so, like, we had a service last night on Monday night. It's one of my favorite services of the week, Monday, 7 o'clock. And we get people from all over the community that work weekends.
Yeah.
They're waitresses
Yeah.
or waiters. They're doctors.
Yep.
And they work weekends, and they come on Monday night. And so the Monday night crowd,
so
if you were to
nice.
come on Monday night, it would feel it wouldn't feel huge.
Yeah.
It would feel really comfortable.
Yeah.
And so we right now currently have 5 different services. Some locations have only 2. Some have 6. At one point we had 9, and we're
Holy.
we're going to continue to just keep growing. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at Christmas and Easter, we
I'm
add
sure
more
a good amount.
to
Yeah.
allow.
Yeah.
But I go to the 1 o'clock. Shout out to 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, fun o'clock.
It's the one.
Yes,
it's
it is.
the one.
I love the 1 o'clock.
I do too. There's something there.
It's hard to have favorites.
Is it?
But
No,
I do.
Not for me.
I have favorites. I love my 1 o'clock crowd.
Yeah, it's a good time. And
Yeah.
it's like not too many people because sometimes there's like, wow. And I don't feel like I felt this way before COVID. So this
maybe.
is me
That may be
thinking, okay.
A post-COVID trauma response.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's nice to have options.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
like I was a waitress at one point and I was working at Bass Pro on weekends and didn't have an ability to grow my spiritual walk or go to Life.Church whenever I was in Edmond. Like I wasn't able, no, I don't think there wasn't a Monday night service. So whenever I saw that option, I was like, that is amazing. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I just
for
had a conversation the other day with somebody who hasn't come back since COVID, and they've gone through cancer treatments really crazy.
Yeah.
And they were like, we want to come back,
Right.
but we're just a little bit concerned. I said, hey, come to 1 o'clock,
Right.
or come to Monday night, and
Right.
you'll have
It's
an
a good time.
opportunity to spread out a little bit.
little more social distancing
Correct.
ability. Yeah.
Okay, so if someone was to walk into our church in crisis, what does Life.Church offer them?
This is a huge thing for me. One of the big reasons that I had issue with the Mormon church specifically was that I was in some leadership roles, and there were situations where people would come in crisis, or people would be really needing help, and I felt that we were not following the teachings of Jesus, which is to look after the women and the children and the widows,
Absolutely.
and so that was one of the things that I really had a hard time with. So how does that work here?
That's a great question.
Sorry
so
to take
obviously,
over your question.
No, it's
Obviously,
I'm very interested.
it's
this
important.
is something that happens every single day.
Oh yeah,
And every single circumstance looks a little bit different.
of course.
It always starts with listening, with sitting down, and we have a pastor on call that's 24/7.
Okay.
So if we get a call at 2 a.m, one of our pastors is reaching out and meeting that need.
Wow.
And at times it's getting out of bed and going somewhere and having a conversation with people. Now, obviously, that's not typical. That doesn't happen every single day. But
Sure.
it's a conversation that starts with just simply listening to where the person's at. We believe in the power of prayer. So we're always going to go to prayer. And we're going to lead somebody in that direction, and we're going to pray with them. And but depending on the situation, we'll do different things. So if it's a marriage thing, it's typically, hey, let's sit down and talk through this. None of our pastors here are certified counselors.
Okay.
But we all coach people, and so any single time I have somebody in a marriage situation, I say, hey, let's come in, let's sit down, let's talk through some of this stuff. And at any point, if somebody is it's got some really deep-seated issues that need to see a counselor, we'll refer them to a counselor.
Okay.
When it comes to financial needs, we have financial coaches in our church that will sit down with somebody, we'll walk through what are their needs, how can we help, and at times we do help with rent or a utility bill or food or whatever is needed, depending on the situation. But really the goal is not to just put a Band-Aid on the problem.
Right.
It's to get to the root of the issue and to help the person be able to grow in that area of their life. And so that is a constant. It's an honor to walk through people that are in crisis. And as a matter of fact, today I got a text from a guy today. He said, I need to meet with you today. Okay, I got lunch available. So we're meeting right after this, and we're going to have lunch. And I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I know what he wants to talk about, but I really have no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just being willing to step into the messiness and help people win in whatever walk they're
Right.
walking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love that you're willing to sit down with people, and then if at any point there's a moment where you're going, oh, that's above my pay grade, let's get you to
Absolutely.
a counselor. Let's get you to somebody who can handle this situation.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are carrying, and you heard this weekend Pastor Craig preach, and you heard him talk about that he has a counselor that he goes to.
Yes, I did. I really enjoyed that from the pulpit he talked, or from the pulpit, quote unquote.
Yes.
But he talked about going to therapy on a regular basis and
Yep.
how important that was. And I was like, check.
It's
important.
Yeah, and it's a regular conversation that he has with his
Very
I love
regular.
that. I love that. Because that is something, not only in religion, but that is something that a lot of times has a connotation in society of, you know,
You're not praying enough.
Yeah, or just you're not. There's some.
You got it all
an
together.
Yeah, there's
the guy talking is talking down to me because he has it all together.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he acknowledges, like, none of us have it all together all the time.
Of course not.
And there are times that we need another voice to speak into us.
Yeah.
And there are times where we need an expert.
Yeah.
that has expert opinions.
Real life expert.
that can give us some steps to take. That
Yeah.
Sometimes we can't find that on our own. We need another voice
For
to do
sure.
that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was something that was talked about to everybody, so that people can kind of take that with them and plant it and be like, yeah, you know, maybe I need some extra help. Well,
Yes.
if Pastor Craig's doing it, then why can't I? So that was good. So what things do you as Life Church do as far as community outreach?
That's another great question. This weekend you got to see some of our life missions partners in our lobby. So here in Tulsa, we have over 20 different what we call local missions partners.
Okay.
And they are organizations that are in our community every single day of the year. They're experts on what they do. So whether it's homelessness or incarceration or whatever that looks like, fostering, we partner with those organizations to impact our community, to be a good neighbor, because we know what Jesus said. He said to not only love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but equally as important is to love your neighbor as yourself. And
Right.
so the church doesn't just exist inside the four walls of this building.
Right.
We get to go out and make an impact in our community. And I love that we're so focused on our own backyard. I think sometimes it's easy to say, well, we gotta take this trip thousands of miles away to go.
Yeah.
And yes, there are
Which
people.
is important too, but
It's very important, but sometimes we do that at the neglect of the people that are in our own community.
Right.
And so Life Church here in the Tulsa area has over 20 different local missions partners. Here at Owasso, we focus really on 3.
Okay.
And those 3 were in our lobby this weekend. The Legacy Family Network was one of them, which was awesome. It was started by somebody here in our church that had a passion for the foster community. And they weren't necessarily called to foster, but to support foster families. And so that's what Legacy Family Network is there to do, is to support foster families in our community. And so that's a Legacy Family Network. We had Branch 15, which was started by Pastor Craig's wife, Amy Groeschel, in the Oklahoma City area. And we just launched a Branch 15 house here in Owasso. And what it is it's for women that are caught up in an endless cycle of either abuse or neglect or incarceration, women that maybe see no way out of that cycle. And so what it is it's geared to bring those women in, to teach them life skills,
Okay.
to help them learn how to create a budget, to find a job, to find work, to find community, most importantly, to grow in their relationship with Jesus, which we believe is the cure for, which will break the cycle.
Okay.
And so it's an 18-month in-house program that is run by women, for women, and it's really exciting to see what God's doing there in Branch 15. And then the third one that is Food on the Move.
Okay.
Which is basically just providing food for people who are in need. And the guy here this weekend that was with Food on the Move was telling me this really cool story. I don't know if you guys know this, but with the whole Afghanistan situation, Tulsa has brought in about 200 Afghani refugees.
I didn't know.
Yep,
Yeah.
and they're being put up in a hotel right now by some organizations, and Food on the Move is feeding them 3 times a day.
Awesome.
And he was telling me the story of this past weekend. They fed them all Andolini's pizza.
Yum.
Right here in
Fancy.
Owasso. Good stuff.
It's good pizza.
Good.
And then they took them to the Tulsa professional soccer game
Oh, that's
nice.
fun.
downtown. And he said it was so cool because it was the first time that they felt like, okay, this can be a place that we call home.
Yeah.
And so Food on the Move is a big part of that. They're feeding people in our community. And so that's just kind of like a bite-sized piece of there's everything under the sun.
Yeah.
In the Tulsa area and we're partnering with those organizations. We're not trying as the church to be the experts in any
Right.
of these things.
Right.
We're looking to the experts that have that calling, and we're partnering with them, and we're sending our people out to volunteer in those communities.
Awesome. I love that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I didn't know this about the refugees. That's so amazing.
I just learned that this weekend.
That's
and I
wild.
he as he was telling me the story, he was like borderline in tears.
Oh.
Well, I am right now, but I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah,
So
because he was like,
I'm just gonna let you know.
these people are just grateful to
That's
be in a place
amazing.
where they're not in
Yeah.
danger.
Yeah.
Exactly, and what they had to see and how the process of going somewhere where you don't know anything about where you're at. I'm glad that they got a place where they got to experience that soccer game. So it's like a moment of just recreation, basically.
Fun
Did they
and
have
community.
that before? I mean, well, they probably didn't know what was going to happen from
Yeah.
the time they got here to then. So it's just
Yeah.
cool. Well, awesome. Well, that is all our questions.
Yeah.
We appreciate so much you sitting with us once again. And
Yes.
everybody, stay tuned for Kathleen's explanation of how she felt about going to church.
Yeah.
Can
Bye.
I just say one
yes.
more thing?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, do it.
One more thing. Just thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
We're happy to have you.
I really love this. I love this dialogue. I think that it is helping break down barriers and walls.
Yeah,
That's the
you know,
hope.
Right now, we're at a point in the history of the world where people need to be able to have civil conversations
Yeah.
and dialogue, and honestly, just to be open.
Right. Yes.
And I thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this. Obviously, as you can see and hear, I love my church.
Yeah.
I love my pastor, Craig Rochelle.
Yeah.
We have, as a family, God has done some amazing things through our life. And my hope is that if you're listening to this podcast and you're searching for something, you're searching for hope, you're searching for truth, you're searching for answers, walk through the doors of Life.Church
Yeah. I
and
agree.
just see what God might do. I believe that he has the power to change lives because he's changed mine. And like I said, I just appreciate you ladies having me on, and what you're doing is making a difference. So thank you.
Well,
Life
thank
Church
you.
means a lot to me personally
Yeah.
as well. I've been going since I was in high school, and I've been out of high school for
Several times.
like 15 years. That's crazy. It's fine. Anyways, but between my husband and I, we can definitely credit Life Church to a lot of healing and there's a standard that's being set that's not where you're like, oh, well, I'm going straight to hell because there's no chance here.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, don't do this. But also there's love that's shown to you through people, and you know it's a God-given love. And I appreciate what Life Church Edmond campus started in me, and then moving to Owasso, having a Life Church in Owasso was a big deal, and y'all have done a lot for me and my family, so I appreciate it.
Well, we get to be on this journey together,
Yes.
and I love
It's
that
beautiful.
we're able to see what God can do.
Yes.
I recognize that it's not my job to change somebody.
Right. Same.
That's above my pay grade.
There you go.
I'm like, yeah, let's leave that one to God.
The heavy
God's got
lifting,
things taken
God
care
can
of.
do the heavy lifting, and it's just we want to guide people
Yeah.
into the presence of what God can do, not be a
Exactly.
gatekeeper to keep people and saying you have to get your stuff together,
Right.
because that's not what our church is about. It's come on in, you're welcome,
So good.
and no matter where you're at, And so, and I'm excited to see what you guys continue to do through this podcast. So thank
we
you
are
again.
too.
So Kathleen went to church.
So I went to church. We just got back from a service at Aubrie's church like 15 minutes ago. We're back at Aubrie's house, and we're gonna record our thoughts and feelings. And
Kathleen went to Life.Church Owasso.
I did it.
Non-denominational.
Yeah. It is very different than anything that I grew up. And so it is very, I kept thinking to myself, this is wild. Like today.
This is wild.
Because it's just so very different. Like, just the fact that I walked in and there are people wearing jeans, the Mormons already would die. Like that, you know, and so just everything about it is just different than what I was raised. Not that that's a bad thing, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it's working.
Yeah, but it's definitely not in my, like, when I think of church, Mormonism is more the school of things of like a Catholic mass. For those who aren't familiar with Mormonism, it's very solemn and quiet and reverent, and there's no,
and sometimes that works for people, and that's good,
and that's fine. It doesn't work for everybody, obviously. But there's no clapping, there's no loud noises, there's no drum kit,
like you busted out laughing in the middle of worship.
Did I?
I
did, didn't I?
Between songs, I'm pretty sure, and I laughed because it was okay.
Yeah,
I was like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, nobody even cares.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's quiet and you bust out laughing, that might be an issue. But
might be awkward.
There's an electric guitar screaming right now. So it's fine.
It was very, And I remember, if I'm remembering right, the reason I started laughing is because people started, like, clapping and cheering, and I was like, ha!
No, we were, strange. Oh, no, it was because Jordan, the worship pastor, read a Bible verse.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And you were like, I know that one. It's from
it's a very big it's a verse. So she read a verse. It's how beautiful are the feet of the people carrying the gospel forth to the world, blah blah blah. And that's something that is used a lot of times in the Mormon church, specifically talking to missionaries when they go on their missions.
Oh, that's
saying
cute.
Saying you're doing God's work. Great job, everybody.
Very motivating.
How beautiful are your feet as you go forward. And so I leaned over to Aubrie to say, this is a big Mormonism scripture. She goes, I wasn't listening.
I said, I don't even know what she just said.
She's like,
I wasn't listening.
She's like, I don't know. So we giggled.
And then she's like, she basically is like laughing and thinking, did I leave the iron on? Was that like as if I was thinking that? I don't know what I was thinking, but I was definitely checked out for a second.
That was okay.
It's just part of my brain.
You're allowed.
I have ADHD, and it's like very overstimulating in the building.
It is. There's a lot. It's loud. There's lights flashing. There's
in your
people
face.
all around you singing and raising their hands. And
it's only natural for a neurodivergent person to be looking like
have to take
a little distracted every once in a while. But
for sure,
for the most part, I paid attention until it's easier for me to pay attention in a church like this. Than it is to go to a solemn, quiet service where that is where my brain wanders.
I could see that. I used to have a problem. I used to bring, when I was Mormon, I used to bring like a notebook or something. Yeah. And I would sometimes take notes, but most of the time I would draw comic strips of funny Bible stories.
That's so funny.
And I'm not an artist. Like, they weren't good.
I would love to see that.
I don't think I have them anymore, but I could draw them for you.
But it's just funny to think.
Yeah. I would draw comics. I can maybe draw stick figures that are funny, so I do that. Yeah. But we would doodle during church together.
Whatever gets you through, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you walk into Life.Church, we walked in the main doors instead of the Life Kids doors, which is the one that I normally walk through. So there's a lot of people at that door.
Yeah. First of all, there was people directing parking in the parking lot.
Well, you picked 10 o'clock.
I don't know what that means.
That means there's a lot of people. We picked it together. I definitely said that there's going to be a lot of people.
I was happy with 10.
Okay, so you walk in, you can get coffee, tea.
Wait, before we do that, there was a guy driving a shuttle in the parking lot. What? There's like a guy with a golf cart that people can hop on so they don't have to walk from the back of the parking lot, which isn't that huge of a parking lot. Is that really a thing that people need?
10 o'clock, you're parking in the back of the parking lot and you got a long, if you're showing up a little late-ish, it's nice to jump on a golf cart and
I'm all for it
that way and get in there.
I'm all for it, but I was like...
I never ride them. The kids love it whenever, but we always park fairly close because 1 o'clock, there's really good parking.
I just walk in and someone directs my parking.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy driving around in a cart and I was like, this is different than what I grew up with.
Yeah.
But okay, so you walk in.
So there's people greeting. Did anyone greet you besides Richie?
I don't. I think people did a lot of like smiling and waving and, you know, as we walked in going like, hi, good morning. But because I walked in with you, that everyone knows you. And then we immediately started talking to Richie.
So Richie said hi to us. Yes. Got our coffee. He was like, you love coffee.
I do
Here
love
you
coffee.
go. Get you some. And then we walk in and there's always a warm up song that's a like mainstream song. Mm-hmm. And we missed that one because we walked in right around like 2 minutes before. Yeah. So they usually have that song going quite.
And that one's not a like Christian rock song. It's like
Christian rock.
I don't know what am I?
Is that what we listened to today?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
There's like you have pop, you have hip hop, you have Christian rock. That's what they're all called, Aubrie. What, am I wrong? No. Your face. You're like...
So Christian rock to me be like Skillet.
What's Skillet?
Play me a top song from Skillet.
Oh, dear.
It's Christian rock.
Okay. I'm nervous.
You hear how rock...
Oh, dear.
This is Christian music.
Okay, I gotta tell you. I hate Christian music. Like, I have a really hard time with it. And that makes me, like, angry. Like, irrationally angry.
Yeah, if you didn't know it was Christian.
No, just because it's... Okay, so there's a famous... not really famous, but there's an episode of King of the Hill. Yeah. And they go to like a Christian rock concert or something. And he says, and this is my mindset with all of it. It's the perfect way to sum it up. You're not making rock better. You're only making Jesus worse. No, switch it. You're not making Jesus better. You're making rock worse. But either way, that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
You can have that.
I will say that the music today, I was like, the people singing were actually talented. It was good.
Yeah.
I was actually like, oh, this is not bad.
Yeah.
It's not my I'm not going to listen to this type of music ever on the radio. But,
so,
you know.
I will say there's a song called Build Your Church. Well, I don't know if that's the name of it, but the ending of it's I'm pretty sure it's from Elevation. And they go, build your church, build it from the ground up. It's your church.
Yes.
And I love that song so much. Mm-hmm. And quit look. I'm not looking at you while I say this because your face is creepy.
I'm sorry.
It has a lot of meaning to me because I think you can make church what you want, and you can do your own. You could start a church, Kathleen, and it could be not on the basis of Christ.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like there's a good intention there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure whatever church you built would be empowering people to be good people, right?
Sure.
It wouldn't be like, let's go take the Capitol. You know what I mean?
Right. Obviously not.
Let's overthrow all the churches that believe this, that, or the other. It's going to be good. So it can be anything. Right. So that's why I like that song.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
And
I didn't hate it.
You did.
It's just not my
just kidding. I
cup
don't know
of
what
tea
you did.
at all.
It wasn't your thing.
No, but it's also because I never grew up listening to it. Like, Ever.
And then we heard... Okay, so worship was over. There was a lot going on the stage after worship, if you ask me.
Really?
A lot of talking compared to what I'm used to.
Okay, so
But-
I actually had notes about that because immediately after the singing portion, which is called worship, apparently.
Yes. Yeah. Worship. What does that mean to you?
Worship is like the whole thing. The way I
Right.
was raised and the way I
Okay.
think of it, worship is the entire service, not from
Can
beginning
you
to
not
end.
say like worshiping and then with music and then doing the sermon?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get what like the
Yeah, sorry. Anyways.
But yeah, so anyway, so the music ends and two separate pastors get up on the stage to talk about ways that you can donate to the church.
You donate to the church. Well, yeah, he did his tithing talk.
Yeah.
So there's the regular tithing
Right.
conversation. Yes.
Right. And so the first one got up and said, you can go on the website, you can donate
Right.
in the bucket coming around, you
Right.
can do blah, 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 blah. And then another guy got up and it was a different,
Yeah.
but it was like, we have all these community outreach programs
Right.
and a way for you to basically said, we have a couple community outreach programs out in the lobby
Right.
that if you're wanting to do that, you can connect with them
Yeah.
and do that.
What do you think about that?
I think so. I have mixed feelings.
So tell them to me. I want to know them.
Number one, I think it's incredibly important to actually have real life community outreach programs instead of just saying we're helping the community and not
Here,
doing
donate
that.
Here.
Right. There
Give us
are
your money.
actual programs standing
Yeah.
there that partner with the church that get help from the church for real actual problems. One of them was talking about there was a program that today they were talking about a program that helps women who are coming out of incarceration.
Called Branch 15.
Uh-huh.
It's a Owasso Life.Church program.
Okay. And then there was the other one, I think that was Food on the Move, I think it was, or something like that.
Which
It
I
was,
think is like a Tulsa thing.
I'm guessing like a food bank or
Right.
something like that. So I'm obviously a huge fan of that aspect.
And the one we didn't see was Legacy Family or something.
Yeah.
Legacy Family. Where
They
it's
said- they
for
mentioned that one.
Foster care.
Okay. So I think that's important. I like that there are actual programs.
There's actually 3.
Yeah.
We normally highlight just one.
Yeah.
They had 3 out there today.
At the same time, I always have, and this is the Mormon in me who's not necessarily critical, but aware of the fact that churches like this make a ton of money.
Right.
And they're saying, we've partnered with these programs. You should go donate.
Well, it's time.
Okay,
They're
so it's
asking
not
for
money.
time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's where I was
So it wasn't
wanting
like
to
so
figure out.
if we would have went up to the booth,
Right.
we would. I would have.
Right.
Well, I say I would have, but I am donating a lot of my time.
Right.
I
You
say
already
donating. I'm spending a lot of time with the ministry that I'm in through
Yeah.
Life.Church, which is Switch, the youth ministry.
Right.
But if something else is taking my time too, I can't do my coaching job as
Right.
good.
Of course.
So I have to really invest in my leaders. I have
Okay.
to. I need to make sure that they are being fully taken care of, like I should be. So I
course.
didn't go up, but when you go up to those booths, you say, "Hey, I want to know more about what this is."
Okay.
And they say, okay, this is how you can sign up and help. And so like the Legacy Family thing, you can come up to, there's places you can go. They put you on an email list and they say, hey, show up here. Families are going to be dropping off their foster kids.
Okay.
So they can go on a date, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
So you're donating. It's so basically
time.
that. Okay. See, that's where I was confused.
Yeah.
Coming from
Yeah.
Mormonism, I think it was the
You're
money
expecting
aspect
money.
is money.
So
it's
no,
money.
that
And
was
so
time.
okay. So then I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Because that I'm all on board with. In my mind, I was
You can totally
misunderstanding.
give them money.
Yeah, of course.
But they're not saying,
But
here,
they're not
here's a bucket.
expecting you to.
Write a check.
Right.
No. Come and visit the Branch 15 house.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm actually really I really like how that was done then, because I was like, okay, so they want me to donate my money to help this, which is a worthy cause and wonderful stuff. But why isn't the church donating all the money that I'm already giving to the church type of mindset? And so that's where my brain was going, wait a second, hang on. Right. But if it's donate your time, help people in need, and then I'm all for it.
Pretty sure the Branch 15 house that they have, the women that are coming out of incarceration, was built by Life.Church Owasso.
Okay.
Or not built, but put together and funded by our church.
Okay.
And then also with the Legacy family situation, our church gave them a $15,000 grant.
Wow.
During COVID.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, and they don't share a lot of that because it's like, hey, I'm flaunting this money, and it feels a little weird, but it's good to see it every once in a while. I feel like. So yeah,
I like that. I like that
outreach.
I like that there are actual programs. You're seeing the programs there. Yeah. They're in the building saying, yeah, here we are. We're working together to make our community better. So I like that.
And I think it's one thing to give money to something. I really do. And I think that is very important. And I think people can probably give more money than they could their time.
In some situations,
Yeah, I see it at our church. Whereas there's people who don't have the ability to give as much money, if any,
but they could donate a couple hours
and they're ready to serve. And that's something that I know Life.Church is very like, get involved. Right. Get involved in this church, serve, do outreach.
Right.
It will change your life.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Yeah. When the pastor got up and was talking about it, I was misunderstanding, I think, and was kind of like, oh, why are we talking so much about money right off the bat?
So that's good to know. So I can say, hey, Donnie.
Yeah.
A first timer told me that she thought you were asking for money.
And that may be my own.
It might be, but it could be.
But
a way that he works in. Do you have time to give to this mission?
Just to clarify, so that people aren't going, I don't have any extra money and I can't do that. So now what?
Now I feel guilty because I can't help, or I don't want to give my money to all this because I don't have that main principle in my you know what I mean?
Sure.
As a Christian, I have certain expectations put on me.
Yes.
To withhold, but you don't. Yeah. You are excused.
Thanks. But it's one of those things that like clarification is always good.
Yeah.
So that people are really understanding, especially in situations, I think, coming in a church where one person is up on the stage, maybe has a little bit, not necessarily power, but has an authority.
Yes.
And so them saying, this is what you need to do to better your life, being very clear is important, because then people can misunderstand and go, but the pastor told me blah, blah, blah. And you're going, that's not what I said, but okay. And so I feel like being clear is always.
And you having that understanding helps change the feelings on the situation.
Exactly. So, okay. And then, so that was
local missions.
Yes. And so then the main sermon started. Thank you. The main sermon started, which was someone who was not in the building. It was like someone from a different location, and it was being televised in.
So he is at Central. His name is Pastor Craig Groeschel, married to Amy Groeschel. They have 6 kids.
That's a lot of kids. High five.
Did I already say he's at the Edmond campus?
Yeah, the main one.
He's at the Edmond campus off of I-35. You'll see a big, huge cross.
Yep, I've seen it.
And that was there before Life.Church.
I know. Yeah, that's been there forever.
The sermon was called Write Your Own Headlines is the first week.
Yes.
And here is a little tiny tidbit they put on the top of the notes. It says, write your own headlines. It's hard to sift through all the information at our fingertips. How do we filter through it in a healthy way?
Okay.
Is it even possible to see the positive? Even in a complicated world, you can learn to shift your perspective and write your own headlines.
Okay.
So that's kind of what the sermon was based on.
Right. So the main message that I got was essentially, the world can be scary, life can be hard. Sometimes we have problems going on that we can't necessarily fix.
Right.
And you should allow the message that I heard was you should allow God to be in your life and keep a positive attitude so that, you know, you're not losing hope basically in a crazy world.
I'm not against this. I'm like, you're not wrong.
That's what I think the message was trying to come across.
Did you get the part where we need to focus, Christians need to focus on eternal life?
Yes. Oh, I have notes. So
fix your eyes on eternal life and not of the things of this world. Okay, so first Bible verse that came out. Since it's Colossians
3:1
through 3.
Yeah.
Since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your heart on things above where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden in Christ, with Christ in God. Sorry.
So while I understand the message is what is trying to be said, I hate that mindset that a lot of Christians or people of faith have. It's one of the reasons why I like being an atheist and why I like the fact that I don't think there's an afterlife, is the fact that I can't rely on a deity to fix anything. I have to fix it myself. I have to live for today myself.
Like, what if you were driving and somehow something happened, something bad happened, and it was an accident, no bad intentions, and somebody died.
Right.
At your hands. Complete accident.
Okay.
How do you handle that?
The same way I would if Jesus were alive and watching. I'd still have to face the consequences of my actions.
Yeah.
Maybe I would.
Example, but
yeah, I don't know.
Meaning, it's like just dealing with the fact that, oh, I just looked away and something bad happened.
Right.
And I didn't mean to.
Right.
So you just talk yourself through it. Like, these things happen. You're not a bad person.
Well, yeah, if I actually didn't mean to, obviously there's an amount of guilt that would probably be there and an amount of I need to be safer or be more aware or whatever and fix my problems. But
I think this is a hard example. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Because I can say the hard thing that I went through that I had to lean a lot on my faith was with Ashley dying.
Right.
So, no. Anyways,
it's a hard, But
let's
basically,
just move on from that because I don't know where I'm going.
It's okay. But basically, there's a lot of times that people in any church, not just Life.Church or Mormonism or, you know, any church at all, have this mindset that don't stress too much about the things of the world, right? Don't worry too much about the things going on around us because God's going to take care of it. And that's nice, but in reality, that's not how life works. So he gave an example, the pastor gave an example of the story he told, which there's a man and he's good friends with his pastor. And he says, you're rolling your eyes so hard. And I have a lot of notes about this story too. He comes to his pastor and he says, look, I'm really struggling.
Hold on before you say it because it came after this. Let me write. Let me say, but we will go straight to it.
Yes.
You can't always, one of the key points of his notes.
Yes.
You can't always change your circumstances, but you can change your perspective.
Right.
And he goes into this story.
So this is the story. The man comes to his pastor, who's his friend and pastor, and he says, I'm really struggling. My marriage is on the rocks. My wife and I are really having a hard time. I'm worried that I'm losing my family. My job is not going well. I'm going to be fired, I think, and we're having financial trouble. We're about to lose our home. And I'm looking for God and all of this, and I'm not finding him.
Or I don't hear God.
Right, I'm praying, and I'm not getting answers. Yeah. I don't know what to do. And the pastor says, basically, okay, so if I'm hearing you right, your wife and you have divorced, and she's not talking to you anymore. And he's like, no, we're still together, but we're struggling. He says, okay, and if I'm hearing you right, you've lost your job and you're homeless. And he's like, no, I'm just worried that's going to happen. And he's like, and if I'm hearing you right, you are now an atheist and don't believe in God. And he's like, no, I believe in God. I'm just not hearing him. And that's the story. The pastor's like, see, I fixed it.
No, that's not the story.
That was the story, Aubrie.
No, he said you need to look at the perspective here.
Okay.
And remember that the sky is not falling and God is with you. Remember where you grew up in church. You learned all these things through Christ. All things work in good for those who believe, whatever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
okay, but he didn't get any marriage counseling. And he didn't get any financial support. And the answers that he's looking for of God isn't hearing me didn't get helped at all. So nothing actually supportive happened. The pastor just gave him some platitudes.
Told him to have a different
perspective.
perspective.
Hey, if you smile about all these
enough.
Problems, they'll go away. And that's not real life. In real life, if his marriage is on the rocks and they're about to lose their home, they need immediate action.
I didn't change my perspective when my marriage was messed up. I went to marriage counseling.
Exactly.
That's true. But
you can change your perspective all day, and that's a great idea. To look on the bright side and try to have hope and try to love and all that is really good, but there has to be something along with it, too.
Okay, and fair enough, but that, I think, in his defense, and I'm not here trying to, like, say he was right and everything, but I think he said he was preaching.
Yes.
And he had to keep the story short.
Right. He can't go on for an hour about how they then found him a really great marriage counselor.
And if you're a part of church for long enough, like Life.Church, you're going to get a life group.
Right.
And they'll probably be like, well, talk to your life group about it. And they will lead you. Like, you can go in and say, Pastor, I'm having a hard time. And they have a list of counselors. I have a friend who they gave her huge amount, like I say huge amount, enough money to cover a counseling session because she was having a hard time.
Right.
Said, here's some money.
Which is great.
So
that's where I think they're putting their money where their mouth is, because a lot of times churches don't do that.
Yeah, but you didn't know that because this is your first time.
This is my first time, and so
that's understandable where your perspective is coming from.
Well, and if I were going to, say, a Mormon church, which I have done, and sat down with a leader with those type of problems, which I have done.
What you have experienced more times than not.
Those problems are not, they don't have the resources or the training to actually assist in those problems. And so, that is one of those things that this is my own past coming to talk about. Preachers and pastors and church leaders need to be talking both sides of the story. We need to talk about, yes, let's change your perspective and pray and have faith and rely on your faith to help you, but you also have to take real life actions to help your own lives. So the sentence of, you can't change your circumstances, but sometimes we can. And so let's really work hard to change them.
And let's seek professional help. And
yes.
I mean, prayer is so good.
Oh yeah, high five.
Let's look at God created scientists, doctors. You know what I mean? Our brains were created by God.
Yep.
So we can, use what God has created to get help.
Right.
Science. Okay. Yeah. One of the things he said in the sermon that I loved was when you are a Christian, your life is not determined by someone else's headline. And I liked that as a Christian that's not like other Christians. Especially, okay, so something he said a lot of, I think this was his basis, and then it'll be close to the end of this sermon. Do you have any other notes?
Not a whole lot. They were all just kind of more going off of the same mindset. And I'll touch on another one after you go ahead. Yeah.
So I wrote down setting our intentions for above, not worldly things, looking at what we have, not what we don't. There is a lot of positive that can come out of that. You can always have the baller good things, but you can't always have but you can always find the flowers. You can't always have all the amazing things, but you can always find flowers. So he gave the example of driving down this long stretch of miserable road, and he's like, this is the worst, to his wife, and his wife was like, how can you say that? Which is so funny because what I know of her, Amy, I don't know her, but what I hear of her is, and I've been to a lot of her talks and stuff, is it's definitely so her, is where she said, but look, there's so many wildflowers. Right. And I was like, that's cute.
Right. It's the same, it really does go well with what he's talking about of the circumstance itself hasn't changed, but your perspective changes slightly. And so instead of...
So he gave headlines. What do you... Okay, I'm going to say a few headlines off the top of my head. They're not going to be exact. They were so...
They were definitely designed...
Hey, you need to have faith in that your child's going to get off drugs. Okay, that's very possible. And then there's one that said, oh, you're a woman who has been hurting. It says woman who's been hurting finds... Forgiveness.
And he specifically read it. That one irked me. And
bad.
Maybe this is, not what he meant. But he specifically...
be careful when you're a man talking about a woman.
Especially, he didn't say a woman who has hurt someone else finds forgiveness in Christ.
Yeah. So
he said a woman who has been hurt and is hurting and has been feeling, he specifically said felt betrayed. So a woman who has felt betrayed finds forgiveness. I'm sorry.
That's great, but
high five. But
why are we making this a headline?
And if I have been betrayed, someone else needs to be forgiven for their.
Yeah, it
was one of those.
That one I did not like at all.
It was just worded wrongly, and I don't think it was done intentionally to send that message. Better. But I can tell that a lot of these headlines that he was sharing were written
for women.
They were written by a white middle class man.
Yeah, and it was that's very uncharacteristic, if I want to be honest.
Really?
Like, I don't ever see him focusing that hard on something that I was like,
Hi.
Not lately, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe I just haven't paid attention.
There was one other point that I think, again, maybe clarification, and this is something that, again, is coming from my own past with Mormonism. Yeah. And I don't think this was his intended message, but it's easy that it could come to people as this message, is when he shared some of the headlines that are scary and, sad or tragic or upsetting or may make you angry, say, focusing on maybe the kid one. Your child has gotten into drugs and is an addict. And the headline was like, the bad headline was the teen addicted to drugs, future unsure or whatever. Yeah. And then you're supposed to change it to... teen asks for help in curing addiction and whatever.
And there's hope in the future.
Right. And so he's talking about how you shouldn't look at your problems as the end all be all. This is a problem.
Right.
But sometimes we do have problems. And they are end all be all. Like, this is dramatic and scary and may make you angry or have depression or sorrow or whatever, and just changing the idea and your perspective isn't going to solve the problem. And I don't think that's what he was trying to say, but I do understand how some people may look around them and hear that and say, okay, I have this issue, say my teenager's on drugs, and I'm angry about it. I taught them better, and I'm upset that they're wasting their money and their time and their future on this thing that I deem is unacceptable. And they're allowed to be angry. And maybe them being angry for a moment is a good thing, because they can channel that anger into helping.
Or not enabling.
Enabling. And so I feel like a lot of times in religion, especially the way I was raised, feelings, emotions that are not joy and happiness are sometimes looked down on, because Christ and the love of God and the gospel make you happy. So if you're feeling sad or angry about life, then something's wrong. And so I don't think that's true, and I don't think that's what he was trying to say, but I could see
it could be thought.
I could see how dangerous. I could see how someone could be listening to this sermon about how you shouldn't look at your life and see the bad. You should turn it around and see the good. And that can be very lovely.
The power of positive thinking is very powerful.
I do agree.
And very, important.
Yes.
Because some people are just so negative that it's like, God have mercy on my soul for having to endure the negativity that's coming, seeping out of them. But yeah, I hear you.
I can see both sides. I agree with that. But I also can see how some people who are feeling angry about a situation in their life could possibly hear that and be like, oh, I can't be mad. I can't be sad. I shouldn't be upset. Yeah. I should try to be happy anyway. And that can sometimes be hurtful as well.
Okay.
Not that
No, you're good.
I don't think that's what he was trying to say.
Who knows? We could go ask him, but I don't have his number. So at the end of it, he said, He said a few other headlines, and they're like completely out of my brain.
Yeah,
but I think he should have used them, they context, person, not women, because he used
there were
two
quite
headlines
a few
that said
were
women and one that said she.
Yeah.
And I was like,
woman sees pain in her life and needs to fix it. Woman's child is this, and woman does this.
There was she on it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that can totally be for this is valid.
Sure.
But I feel like they are really good ways. That's where I think you could do better.
Yeah.
But I'm like, he did great.
He did a great job. I think it was
always like, and this is where I sat there and I was like, I'm not like, I don't take every single thing and just run with it and say this is exactly how I have to do this.
Right.
I take what works for me, and I actually I felt like God was working through me on that. Like the things that stood out and worked for me, where God was working through me with it, I was like, this is great.
Right.
And he asked if we could write our own headlines, what would it say?
Okay.
And I don't know if you have one yet, but I wrote one pretty quick because
let's hear it.
There was the song Build Your Church. And I'm constantly like feeling an urge of building a church, starting a church.
Yeah.
I have felt that so much in my life. I wanted to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that my life is where it is right now.
Of course.
And guess where my church is? Right here, right now on this podcast. It's felt so validated because this is truly like where it's at. This is working for me. I will visit. I have a pastor. You know what I mean? Like, pastors should have pastors.
Sure.
Am I a pastor? Absolutely not. But I do have this church. This is my church. Call me a pastor if you want, but I don't need to be called. No, not in my church. We're just going to be Aubrie. It's a Christian church with an atheist co-host. Anyway, so this is my headline.
Okay.
Persons start a church without manipulation tactics or personal agenda. People actually love themselves as God intended and start loving others better in the name of Jesus.
I love that. High five.
That's my headline, and I'm sticking to it. But
I like it.
Yeah. We don't have to agree with every church out there.
And we won't.
One
There's
church.
no way.
There's no way Pastor Greg can get up there and tell us everything.
No.
It's his perspective. It's his whatever.
Yeah.
It's his church.
Yeah.
And he has the right to say how he
can
wants to.
say it how he wants to.
And I have the right to walk in or not walk into the doors. And that's a choice I have to make. To the Christians out there that are trying to find a church or that are in a church and maybe they're not happy in their church, I'm sure there's churches out there. Or maybe just look at it as a perspective of, I'm hearing a human being talk and I need to listen with an open heart to hearing what God's doing through them versus taking them for everything.
Right.
And being like, this is the way.
Right.
Be like, okay, God, how do you want me to do this? So what I heard from God was, it will be fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just feel like with certain people, I have to remind them that. But anyways, so
I think the overall message was a good one. Of the world can be crazy, the world can be scary and divisive and upsetting, but don't give up hope that there is good out there, because there's lots of good out there, and it can be found everywhere and anywhere, which is very similar to what we're trying to do with this podcast.
This is our church. And you're part of my church.
Thanks.
And I thank you for being a part of it, not being like, oh.
It's the first church I've actually liked so far.
I'm so glad. And
I will say, no offense to anybody running Life.Church. I think they're doing a great job. I think it's run lovely.
What are you about to say?
But I'm glad I'm an atheist.
No? Okay, so that leads me into the question of, I have two, conclusion questions.
Okay.
Of this episode.
Sure.
What did you enjoy?
I liked how it felt like this is a church that if you were a believing person, it would be fun to go to.
Oh, yeah.
There's the children's section we walked through. There's murals and games and toys and people who look like they're having a good time. It's colorful. It's bright. It's fun. It's exciting. There were people all over the place who are serving in some capacity.
Yeah.
Who look like they're happy to be there.
Oh yeah.
They're if you like that type of music, it was there. It was exciting. It was fun. People are in it. I don't personally like that type of music.
Christian rock.
It's not my thing, but I can see how people would, and it was done well. And so,
Yeah.
and there's coffee and tea, and do you want a snack? Here's a snack, and come talk to us after if you need help.
Yeah.
And you can tell that going there every Sunday is something to look forward to for most of these people rather than a chore.
Right.
And so I like how that's done. I do like the community outreach programs, the way that that's set up, that there's actual programs and you can see it happening.
Right.
Instead of empty promises of, we're helping people. It's just the people at the top to get another Bentley.
No.
I don't like that.
I'm pretty sure they don't have a Bentley. I don't know what they drive, but if you look in our parking lot during the week, there's
nothing crazy.
They're not bad. They're like decent vehicles that get them from point A to point B, and it's not like showy.
Right. They get paid a salary for the work that they do, but they're not. But
and
they also have, the church has enough money to put forward to the community outreach programs and to help other people. Cool. Yeah. So that's what I did like.
What did you not enjoy?
I am not, and this is not, I'm not trying to insult anybody or hurt anyone's feelings. It is just not my style.
Of course it's not.
The hand raising at the end at one point.
Okay, so the altar call.
Yeah. Which I've never seen before. I don't know what
forgot
that
about
is.
Covering that part. So
yeah, I don't know what that. I kind of have
the call to Jesus, or accepting Jesus into your life.
Right.
So we allow for that space to be given to people who say are first time comers, or they've been coming for a little while, but they haven't accepted Christ.
Right.
This is where this is where you say, yes, I accept Jesus into my heart.
So what's the difference in saying, yes, I accept Jesus, and getting baptized?
So that's a public show of your faith,
right?
Being baptized, and that means you're going under the water as the old you and coming out as the new you,
right?
And that is just a public show.
Okay.
And whenever you raise your hand, it's basically you saying, "Hey, God, here I am."
Okay.
God already knows you are committed to Him whenever you get baptized.
Okay. We don't do that in Mormonism. There's no basically saying, yes, I accept Jesus doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Great. I can say that today.
Oh my gosh, that's such there's like a celebration in heaven whenever you raise your hand. Like the angels are like having a celebration in heaven.
So like I could have raised my hand and it would have meant something.
If you meant it,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
If you didn't mean it.
Obviously, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. But
that's between you and God.
That's just it's a different, and so I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's totally weird, but like for people who aren't used to that,
right.
I'm sure. So they usually every sermon will have that, but there's also a question for you to raise your hand that goes with the sermon.
Right.
So for everybody who say me, he said if there's something that's bothering you that you need a better positive outlook on, raise your hand.
Right.
You have the choice to raise your hand or not raise your hand.
Right.
And then you pray about it.
Right. That's just basically try it and take this sermon and apply it in your own life.
Yeah.
If you don't raise your hand, you may still have something in your heart that you don't have to raise. Yeah.
It's sometimes when you do an actual like body movement or an act of showing, hey, and it's not, and everybody's head's supposed to be bowed. You're not showing to your congregation, I'm raising my hand because I'm righteous and holy and I pray all the time.
It's just a way for it to solidify in your brain.
To kind of connect you
Gotcha.
with the situation. As is raising your hand to accept Jesus. It's kind of a moment of, okay, during this sermon I felt pulled to God.
Right.
And here's an opportunity for you to put that in action and say, hey, I raised my hand.
Yeah.
I'm accepting God into my heart. And then there's a thing called the next steps after you raise your hand that they kind of equipped you with what's next. What are you going to do? So now then you kind of get plugged into a pastor or a like volunteer will get a hold of you.
Okay.
If you tell them you did.
Right.
You don't have to.
Right.
They're not going to be like, oh, I saw you raise your hand.
Gotcha.
They're not going to hunt you down if you raise your hand.
But you can come up and say, hey, I want to move forward in this situation.
If you would have paid attention. Okay, usually, I think we were talking.
Maybe.
And it wasn't like you did anything wrong. But
you're fine.
on the screen, it says, what's next?
Oh, okay.
And there's a thing on the app that you say.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I just didn't read it fully.
I accept salvation.
Gotcha.
I did the salvation. I raised my hand, and then it'll prompt you to the next thing you got to do.
The other thing that threw me off and was something that and again, this is just coming from Mormonism, was the prayer at I don't remember if it was the beginning or the end, where the pastor stood on the front and said a prayer and everyone repeated after him.
It's the after. Okay, so he said it. Nobody prays alone. Whenever your salvation prayer is not prayed alone, because you don't want people to feel out of place who just raised their hands. Right. So as a congregation together, we say the prayer that you say. So
basically this is for people who are first coming to church, first coming to this idea, first accepting Christ, that kind of mindset. And so you're doing it in solidarity
in a way
them.
to not make them feel like, oh, I got to say this out loud because I rose my hand.
Right, but
and
now
I'm
they
going to
don't
be the only one praying.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And everyone's going to be like, oh, it was that guy.
Yeah. The one part about that I didn't like was one of the things. Yeah. One of the things he had us repeat, or you, because I didn't say it because I didn't want to be disrespectful.
It's okay. I appreciate it either way.
Yeah. Was that he said, I know now that I'm a sinner.
I'm a sinner.
And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
I need a savior.
Yeah, I look at, and I hate this mindset that religion a lot of times has, is that you're born a sinner. Okay. And I don't like that. I
agree with that. It's very difficult for me lately.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people who are, say, if you're looking at the sins of the world, like, maybe you're not being honest with someone in your life. Maybe you're somebody who struggles with,
being faithful to your wife.
Being faithful or being hurtful, or, there are things that, and I'm purposefully not saying sins like drinking or smoking or even just like, I'm not even saying, but basically there are people who struggle with sinning, quote unquote, doing things they know they're not supposed to and they don't want to be doing, that hurt other people and whatever. And that's actually true. That happens. But to think that no matter what I'm doing, I'm a sinner. No, I'm not. I'm doing a great job. I do my best.
That's the perspective in which we're talking about.
Okay.
So that's not actually the perspective, but it feels that way when you're not understanding that.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Okay.
You're valid on that, but I'll let you know.
Okay. Let me know. Fix it. Fix it, Aubrie.
So, okay. I'll say a sin that I do.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, this is valid.
Okay.
This is church.
Okay.
Aubrey's church.
Welcome to church. Tell us about it, Aubrie.
So, hypothetically speaking, say I was watching porn or something. I'm sinning because, one, I'm not supposed to lust, right?
Okay.
In the Bible, according to the Bible, lusting isn't good, Jesus said. And also, there's an understanding between my husband and I that, hypothetically, because honest to God, I don't watch porn.
Right, I know. You know, that's why I'm like chuckling.
But anyways, so there's an understanding between my husband and I that we will not watch porn.
Right.
Both sides.
And so if you were to do that, it would be
devastating.
It would be a betrayal.
If he did that, I'd be like,
yeah.
Why?
And see, that's where
I think in the past it would have made me think, well, what's wrong with me that you got to go that way? But now I'm just like, And
again, this is something that is true for Aubrie, not true for everyone, because there are obviously people out there,
Christians, who decide this.
Yes.
It's not true for everybody.
That's one of the things that irked me, because if he says, everyone's a sinner, I'm going, well, I don't think that porn is a sin for me. So let's think of a sin
that would be a sin for Kathleen in Kathleen's eyes. I say that a mom struck her child across the face.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Out of anger.
I don't like that. That would be a sin. I don't like that whatsoever.
So there you go. I hit a nerve.
Thank you.
She's a sinner.
Yeah. She's done something. She's done something wrong, and she needs to reevaluate that part of her life and say, okay,
and it doesn't have to.
That's not working. Yes. I need to do that better.
I need to be better.
That I'm all for, because everybody does that. Ha! But start the sentence off,
I'm a sinner.
I'm a sinner unless I accept Christ. No, I'm not. I haven't accepted Christ. Sorry, I haven't.
Unless you accept
but I'm
Christ,
not a sinner.
You didn't. You don't. So you're good. You're scot-free, girlfriend.
How is that possible, though?
Because that is the great situation in which you're a human and you get to decide your life.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how that's possible.
But in Christianity, the belief is that if I don't believe in Christ and I don't accept Christ, automatically Helltown for me.
No, that's God's decision, not mine.
I mean, not yours, obviously.
Helltown is God's my thoughts on this is if you, because I believe in an afterlife, I don't believe you're going to hell.
Thanks. That was really nice of you to say.
I don't.
But I don't. I like that. Yeah.
Because I shouldn't be focusing on where your afterlife is.
Right.
This is not my decision.
Right.
I don't get to decide this.
Right.
If you, I don't know, like if you were like human trafficking, I'd be like, yeah, obviously you should burn in hell. You should. But I still don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because 10 years from now, or maybe even 10 minutes after you get caught, you'll be like, I should have not done that. I should know better. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think certain Christians are too focused on what eternity looks like for everyone else, or if you're sinning, what that looks like. Mm-hmm. Well, for other people. Sorry. You're fine. For other, it's not mine to focus on, and I think that needs to be a realization for a lot of people.
I do agree with that. I think there are a lot of people, and not just Christians. I think a lot of us tend to be worrying about
other people.
What are they doing? What are they doing wrong? And a lot
of times, the Bible says it's wrong. Well, let them read the Bible and figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot in
show examples of what you're supposed to be doing, and let them see, oh, maybe I shouldn't be slapping my daughter across the face. You know what I mean?
Let them, I think a lot of times people in general make ourselves feel better by looking at what other people are doing wrong and going, well, at least I'm not doing that. I mean, hell, I watch Hoarders because I'm not the tidiest person. This is a lame example, but I'm not the tidiest person.
It helps. It makes you
And
clean.
I feel, sometimes I look around my house and it's a disaster zone and I go, ugh. And then I watch Hoarders and I go, I'm doing great.
I'm doing okay.
I'm doing fantastic.
That's a positive outlook. Your headline is written positively.
Yes. And so, but again, maybe we do that too often and we need to be focusing more on ourselves.
Yes.
Take the beam out of your own eye before you focus on the mote of your brothers, which is from the New Testament. Jesus talks about that a lot, y'all. This whole call out your neighbors if they're sinning is false.
I think it's in the Bible somewhere, but it's not I haven't adopted that theology.
I think it's probably in there at some point, but
come at me.
There are quite a few more places where Jesus himself says, worry about your own self and let me worry about what everyone else is doing.
And that's one I like to live by.
Yeah. Anyways. Which I do too. But yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah.
The ending I really like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like today's church was good.
Yeah.
But there were things where I was like, Rrr.
Yeah, but I think me personally, I'm going to notice that anywhere, no matter what, because I'm not a religious person.
And I've been to places where I'm literally like, get me out.
Oh, yeah.
Run. Get me out of here.
I will say this idea, this main message of the sermon was similar to something I would have heard in Mormonism, just in a different way,
Yeah.
But I've had lessons or talks, we call them talks in Mormon. But yeah, like that, because they're not done by a pastor. And so it's not really a sermon. It's done by like, I don't know if you should put this in there because I don't know if it's fully accurate, but today my sister's giving a talk.
Oh, yeah.
So she's getting up in front of everybody and giving a talk.
So that would be the sermon.
That's the sermon of the day. Yeah. And so, it's done by regular people. But, the bishop is also a regular person. So it's not like that weird.
So do y'all ever hear from someone that went to seminary?
No.
Or did they?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, there are, in Mormonism, your normal Sunday is the congregation itself will have 2 or 3 people who've prepared like a 5 to 10 minute talk.
Wow.
And they'll get up. And usually the bishop will say, this week I want you to talk about, charity. And so they'll talk about that and give it to the congregation. And then every so often
I need to go to church at a Mormon place. You do not need to go. I would never expect you
I
to
really
be there.
don't want to, but I guess if we really need to, I know a place. No, I know people who would take you. But I kind of, honestly, I wouldn't mind going.
I want to go where we don't know anybody.
That's not going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think? I want to know what that's like. And I could do it by myself because I don't want to force you into something or put you in a place where you're like,
Yeah. I don't want to go to Mormon church. I've been to Mormon church a million times. But there's also other options where I could pull up addresses that have been given worldwide, and you could watch those instead of us going and sitting.
Sorry, that's my kid.
It's okay. But yeah, so every once in a while they do have addresses that are given worldwide by people who have gone through a seminary type thing.
I want to go to a actual
Sunday service
like we just went to mine.
Yeah. Honestly, we would have to go here. It'd just be, you'd have to get the whole experience. We should definitely talk about it and try and figure it out. There are other places we could go.
Entertain the idea.
Yes. Yeah. Because it is much different than what you're used to. And I feel like it would give you an idea of where I'm coming from a lot of times, because it's a very different world. Yeah. So I'm not opposed to it. I don't love the idea, but I'm not opposed to it.
I would go in and be like, what the heck? And you'd be like,
yep, this is it.
I'd be the one awkwardly sitting. I don't know what. Do we not clap?
No clapping. Don't clap. Don't do
not
it.
Standing?
No, don't stand up. Don't clap. Don't raise your hands. Bad idea.
I appreciate you standing during worship at mine, though.
Oh, of course. I'm not going to be the only one sitting. That's weird. I'm not going to be weird on purpose.
Yeah.
I do that enough by myself. But yeah, I think today went well. It was very interesting to see. It was, I think the people who are running it are doing a good job and doing the best that they can to help their congregation and help their community, which I love. That's great.
Which I find so important.
Yeah. I think there are things that we could all work on, obviously, and that's going to be said of any church, anywhere, always.
Yeah, no one's getting it 100% right. Even my church is going to screw up a few things.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to be told how.
But,
it's fine. How'd you feel about the time?
I was impressed with how it really was an hour long, and then we left. Mormon church nowadays...
They don't allow for anything else.
Yeah, nowadays it's 2 hours long, but when I was growing up it was 3. 3 hours long. It's very long. But anyway.
Well, that's that. Are you going to go back?
No. Sorry. If there was if there was a reason, podcast-wise, okay. But I didn't leave feeling not to, again.
No, I want to know.
Feelings.
You're not.
I didn't leave it feeling like I needed to change anything in my life.
Okay.
I didn't leave feeling like, oh, maybe I'm thinking wrongly about my life.
Or maybe this God thing's real.
No, I didn't. That's okay. I left feeling there are a lot of people here who are finding a lot of happiness here, and that's great. But I'm not one of them. That's okay. So I went to church. Am I going back? If we have content reasons, sure. Out of my own heart,
never.
Out of my own touched heart by the gospel, probably not. Sorry.
Gospel.
Was that disrespectful? I'm sorry if it was.
No. It just made me laugh because that's so old. That's not how we talk, but we don't not talk like that. It's just not
I know. It's a very old-fashioned-y way. But anyway.
I think it would be the word.
Oh, the word. Oh.
Thanks for going to my church and giving it a chance.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Life.Church, for hosting Kathleen.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of my church.
Yeah.
For the way they've embraced you through it.
I am too. I really did,
Without blinking.
Several people came up to me and said, I know who you are. I've listened to your podcast. Yes. No one said she's
you're the one.
Yeah. Even
sitting down with Jesus.
Right. Even sitting down with Pastor
Richie,
there was no like, oh, we want to turn your mind, which I'm sure there are people who think that way, that they're hoping that this will open my mind. I'm sure that's true, but I just am very impressed with the way that everyone has been so kind.
Yes.
Yeah. And thanks for being kind, guys.
Yeah, it was really, but it's just whenever you tell someone in the Christian faith that you're podcasting with an atheist.
Yeah.
I was really nervous that they were going to say, no, I don't want to record with you.
Right.
And they did. Richie's like, the moment I said, would you like to be a part of this? He said, absolutely.
Yeah. High five. Let's do it.
It made me love my church even more.
Yeah.
So thank you, Life Church. Thank you, Richie. Thank you to other pastors who've encouraged and loved on me through all of this. So.
Of course.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.